you'll see Tupatala a defensive end position or the outside linebacker position. You'll have Voy on the other side. You'll keep the exact same guys. Then you'll have Voy standing up over top of the tackle. You'll have Tupatala blitz, from a linebacker position, and then you'll have Deshaun Lynch on the left end. He'll drop into coverage. It's
Yeah.
like, I mean, it's really is you're running. This is what you see on Sundays. I mean, this is literally what they run.
Yeah. All right, dog fans, before we hop into the show, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. It really helps us out, and we appreciate the support. Thanks to our sponsor, Simply Seattle, we'll be picking out one lucky new subscriber to win free Washington Huskies t-shirt and hat. To enter, just subscribe, drop a comment below letting us know that you've done it. You can be out there flexing that new Husky drip, that new Husky swag in no time. Plus, don't forget to check out Simply Seattle's QR code at the bottom of the screen, which will take you directly to their website for all your Washington Husky apparel needs. Good luck. Go Dogs. Thank you for everything.
Welcome to the Dubbed Up Podcast. I'm your host, Mike Blunt. I got my guys Izzo and Noah with me. Fellas, it's been rough watching what happened on Friday and then still trying to remain positive because we lost to a team that we should have beat. Noah, how are you feeling about it, man?
Man, I think frustrating to say the least. I mean, you look at that game, you listen to some like recaps on it, you watch ESPN, you watch Fox, and it's just, I think everyone's kind of saying the same thing. You just have so many opportunities to win that game. You outrush them by, I think it was 220 yards, 522 to like 299. Anytime you hold a college team under 300 yards, a total, I don't know the percentage, but I bet you those teams are losing probably 80% of those games. Anytime you rush over, or have total yardage over 500, I mean, you're winning a lot of those games. I mean, especially, man, it's on a short week in Piscataway, Friday night, to have like 3 missed field goals from Grady Gross. I mean, dude, Grady Gross has been about as clutch as you can get for a kicker, man. And for him to have those, he's just kicking himself. And then like those penalties, we asked all week, like, can we cut penalties down? What can we do? We went 6 for 69, but I don't even know if it was the penalties in general, right? Like 6 penalties, 70 yards, that's not a killer, but it's when they happened,
Exactly.
and you look at that very first drive, and you have D'Angelo Titi Ali, and it's like, man, we're clipping these guys, 25-yard run, 11-yard run, 8-yard run, 11-yard run, and then he absolutely kills that cornerback, and he ends up just like jumping on top of him. He gets a personal foul. We ended up having to punt the ball. Actually, no, we didn't even punt. I think we went for it on downs, like 4th and 9. And it's just one of those things, man. It's like you're rolling, and that's just so easy to lose momentum is when you have a dumb penalty like that. And you saw that later on in the game. You saw that with Vincent Holmes running on, great play by Showtime Holtzclaw. He runs on the field. They end up getting the ball after we block a field goal. They get a touchdown, and it's 10-point swing. And then the phantom, penalty on freaking Javon Parker. As I think Dubbed Up Huskies, Izzo wrote today or retweeted, like Javon Parker ended up having like,
He was second highest graded defensive tackle in the country last week.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't know, man. It's just tough, and it's frustrating because you're the better team. And let me pose a question to you guys, man. I want to hear your opinions, and especially when it comes to the penalties. It's like I think there's a lot of back and forth, and people getting all frustrated about, the play calling's this, and we can't score in the red zone. But when it comes to penalties, and the type of penalties that you had, at what point is it? Like, at what point does it become like a trend, and then you start to say, like, no, this is Jed Fish's problem? Like, what are your guys' opinion on that?
I think it was after Wazoo. I think it's been a while. Like, this is game 5 now, and let's just remove the kid coming onto the field, Vincent Holmes coming onto the field, and that play getting flip flopped. Like, even if you give that one a pass, and you give the Javon Parker phantom face mask, you give that a pass as well. It's too late to be having those issues, but I don't think this is a big game to really focus, like you're saying, hyper focus on the penalties, because to me that's not why you lost this game. I mean, and they were kind of phantom. I think it's gotten better, but if you're asking the question of when did it become a trend that needed to get fixed, it was after Wazoo. But to be honest, it's gotten better. Like
Yeah.
we didn't. Those were key plays. Those were key things that happened during the game. We're only hyper focused on them though because we missed 3 field goals and we couldn't score in the red zone. Like I think that's the only reason why it's coming up in conversation. To be honest.
It's also happening. It's like you said, it's when it's happening. There's less.
Yeah.
There's not 16 like there was against Wazoo, like Noah or like Izzo just said, but they're happening in moments when they hurt so bad. Like after a punt, just a stupid play that doesn't need to happen. It's a freshman moment. When you're struggling like this and the bounces are going against you, those penalties always seem to happen at the worst possible time. And the problem is when it comes to anything that has to do with discipline, it's stuff that can be fixed. It's not a deficiency. It's something that we need to pay more attention and time to. And if we do, we improved across the board last night, Friday. When you look at how many yards the offense got, what the defense did, both passing and rushing, it was one of our best outputs of the season. And we just were struggling specifically third down efficiency. Like I think we were 3 for 12 or something like that. And we're only 37% for the season on third downs, which is terrible. Like we need to be better than that. But then, like I said, not being able to score.
Like, my thought on this is like I don't even think we should hyper focus on the penalties because like to me that's tertiary in this game. It's the penalties that occurred were kind of fluky. If you remove the Javon and the Vincent Holmes, then you're looking at 4 penalties for what 39 yards. So like I think it got better. I think for me, what is the most concerning as a fan, now behind closed doors, it might be totally something different, is what seems to be somewhat of a lack of accountability for the red zone offense. Like it's game 5 and I was just really bummed when Jed Fish got on the microphone and then pointed out the positives and gave a really positive answer toward how many red zone conversions we've had. I think it was 14 of 19 or 15 of 19 in the red zone, of which I want to know how many of those are field goals. Like, it's like, why are we trying to trend that positive in the media? Like,
it's kind of like you can spin anything to fit your narrative, right? Like, okay.
Yeah, it's like, dude, I mean, we all see it. We all know it's a problem. It almost feels like I don't know, not condescending, but it's like, how do you just think that the fan bases can't pick up on the fact that we're not scoring touchdowns in the red zone? Like, of course, that's the issue. We scored 18 points and we had 600 yards or whatever it was in this game. So that to me is like the most tangibly fixable issue that is not being addressed and hasn't been addressed as we go forward. Do I think it will get addressed? Yes, but it's like, man, you have Adam Muhammad and Cam Davis on fresh legs right there again. Like, is it really that big of a challenge, to hand them the rock a few times? Like, try it, because it doesn't seem like we've even really tried.
Yeah, like if we went down swinging, say we gave it to Jonah Coleman 3 times and he didn't get it, we would be pissed. But we would be like, you know what? At least you went down swinging with your biggest bat.
I don't even think it should be Jonah Coleman because he's getting so many carries inside the 25s that he on a few drives that are sticking out in my mind, he was gassed by the time we got into the red zone, which is fine. It's not a giant step back to go to Adam Muhammad and Cam Davis in those situations. Bring in Decker, into out of the fullback spot. Like, it's just that is my takeaway, at least personally, especially when prior to the game, Jed was not willing to address the fact that they've struggled in the red zone when he was asked by Softy. And then he went into this game and did it again. It's like,
yeah,
It's just so frustrating, man.
Yeah, and the reason why I bring up the trend or like the discipline piece of this is here's a great example too that we're kind of forgetting. Do you guys remember in the game when there was like an injury timeout? It was like a 3 minute, it's kind of a longer injury timeout, and then we come back in on offense, and our play clock runs out, and we have to call a timeout.
Yeah, that was
That's the kind of
crazy.
discipline, and then for the rest of the half, right? The rest of the second half, you only have 2 timeouts. That's the kind of discipline stuff I'm referring to. And once again, I'm not saying get rid of Jed Fish and fire him, dude. That's like the last thing I'm saying. What my point is like there has to be a discipline from the top to the bottom for them to realize. Like, would Vincent Holmes in a Chris Peterson team, would he ever have ran on the field?
Hell no.
No.
Hell no.
And if he did, I promise you,
Jimmy Lake would have hit him.
Yeah, man. Well, no, but I promise you, like, it would be such a teaching moment that would never happen again in his regime. And so I guess that's what I'm asking for is if we're making those mistakes, if we're doing those little things, what are we doing to fix those? None of us are in the building, but I sure as heck hope that we are instilling discipline from the top to the bottom, from our equipment manager to our nutritionist, to our offensive coordinator, to our defensive coordinator, all the way up. It's like there has to be a tight run program that you don't have these types of mistakes because when you go short week, on the road to Rutgers on a Friday night. I'm sorry, you have to play not perfect games, but you have to play games like this and not have these penalties and end up taking losses. And that's what happened is we didn't play the way we can, and that's why we ended up losing this game.
Yeah.
You guys, question for you because and actually, Izzo, I want to ask this to you because you have. I think how you're feeling is very much how a lot of the fan base is feeling in general. What would you want to see from Jed Fish today or yesterday or whatever to not because nothing's going to make you feel better about it, but to make you feel like, hey, he's in the right mind state that's making me feel more positive about going into this next game.
What do I want him to do or say?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't want him to do or say anything. I just want him like outside of during the game when you're in the red zone to try something other than throwing fades and in crossers or out crossers to wide receivers. Like it's not working. There's something that's broken with that attempt that you're making inside the red zone, and trust your back, your second and third running back. Like they're both good, man. And that's the change that I want to see. I don't, it would have made me feel, this is what I was saying and how I led into me going off on that is that we don't know what's happening behind closed doors. It would have just made me feel better as a fan to hear my head coach take accountability for poor play calling inside of the 5.
And that's what I wanted to hear right there.
Yeah. That's what I'd like to hear, but it's not up for me to choose. So long as it's getting done behind closed doors, I don't care. But to this point, it's it's now many games in a row.
Accountability is the big thing. And you know what? That's fair because I think that's part of how you temper big crowds of people is, hey, if you screw up, at least say I screwed up and I'm going to do better by doing yada, 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 yada. You know what I'm saying? And I don't think we're getting that. And I think that's where a lot of the anger and the frustration is coming from in the fan base. Do you guys have any other high level thoughts before we move on?
No, let's do it.
All right. There was a lot of positives in the game. Like I said, we had 521 yards of total offense. And I mean, we ran the ball great. We threw the ball great. Let's point out some of the players that really stood out to us. Noah, who stood out to you?
Yeah, man. I'm gonna go with the big numero uno. I mean, Jonah Coleman, man. If you heard Tim Brando on the call, you would have thought
I was just gonna say this.
You would have thought Kyle Monungai was the freaking, the second.
It was Ashton Jeanty.
Yeah, I mean, goodness gracious. I mean, I don't know how you watch that game and think like Jonah Coleman's on a top 5, running back in the Big Ten, top 7 running back in the Big Ten. I mean, he was piercing 9.3 yards per clip. I'm not sure what happened to him. It looks like he might have got a little banged up or something, thigh contusion or something in that game if he's just winded. But man, 16 for 148. I mean, I think he had a long of 39. I think he had like another 26, a 20. I mean, just all over the place. I mean, he's really just kind of become that workhorse, but one thing I want to say is on one of his big first runs, I got to give a little shout out to our walk-on number 82, Owen Coots. Man, he's a tight end who's getting a little bit more run. But man, Owen Coots, dude, he threw an absolute nasty block on that first big run from Jonah Coleman. So I wanted to give a little shout out there. But yeah,
Better
man,
yards for carry average than Guy.
yeah,
Just for the record.
9.2.
dude. I mean, yeah. What did we say before the game too? We said get him 20 carries.
He was close.
I know,
16.
I know,
16.
but I want 20, man. You got to get him 20 carries.
I want a clean number.
Yeah, give him 21. I don't even care. Just give me something that like is more than the 11, 14, 16, 15. It's like give me 20 carries. He's that good of a back.
I mean, look what they did with Monungai. They just kept feeding him. He had like 30 carries against us, and they were able to hold us down. So, Izzo, who are your players?
Yeah. I will say, like, with Jonah, I actually don't have any problem with his usage. I thought it was pretty good in this game, and at the times that they stopped using him, he looked pretty tired. So to your point, maybe it was a thigh contusion or something like that. But I actually liked his usage in this game. But especially with how Will Rogers was playing too, and the offensive line. And that's a lead-in segue here to the guy I wanted to call out was Maximus McCree, because this guy stepped up in this game. He ended up with I think he played 49 snaps. He was in pretty much the entire game, gave up one pressure. He was at 81 grade in the pass blocking side on PFF and 75 in the run blocking side. The most impressive piece of that to me is the run blocking, because he weighs, I think he came in weighing at like 285, 290, and the Rutgers defensive linemen are all huge. And so for him to get that good of a grade, and it's just impressive, especially, given that he's been worked in really. So big shout out. If I had to choose one guy, he's my one guy, just because that is such a positive trend for the rest of the season. Like, it's such an important piece that we have that short up, and the offense was able to operate how they were able to operate in this game, because in large part because we didn't have to worry about left tackle in a big way. So he's my guy, but I'll shout out Will Rogers too. Again, just Mr. Consistency, 27 to 37, 314 yards, ho-hum, 2 touchdowns, the second most efficient passer in the country. 51-yard. We were going back and forth on Twitter a little bit about that mesh concept, and you called that out. That was just, thank you for running that play. We've been waiting for something like that, and
Mesh is best.
Oh my gosh, that was beautiful time. That was such a well executed play. So as we're harping on Jed, you're irritating me so much. I will recognize somebody on Twitter Spaces said this too, and just reminded the group as we were all furious and reacting to the game, that between the 25s, man, the game plan looked really good in this game. Like they were executing very well.
Don't we have like one of the most? I think we have like a top 15 or 20 efficient offense between the 20s or something like that.
It's something crazy. It's something crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, if you came in and polled 100 Husky fans if that would be the statistic we would be talking about after Game 5, they would all say we would be 5-0, and they would all be very happy with that offensive efficiency. So that kind of just leads into my last guy that I'll call out, which is Denzel Boston. 6 catches, 125 yards, 2 touchdowns. He now leads the Big Ten in touchdowns from the wide receiver position. This is no surprise to Husky fans, right? Like, coming into this season, we all knew he was going to pop. Now it's starting to talk about trends. Denzel Boston having big games is now a trend.
Our most consistent receiver right now. And I mean, the other two are playing really well, but Denzel Boston is the man. And I think that I'm glad Jed Fish finally did it, where he came or had him throw the pass in the back of the end zone where it was just a jump ball. I would really like to see him do more of that when we're in the red zone. That and running the ball with Jonah Coleman. I think there are two things that we seem to stray away from at the beginning of games, and you'll see the one-on-one matchup with Denzel Boston and somebody who's a whole head shorter than him. And I wonder why it takes so long to get him.
See, that's what I don't want, though. That's
really
well. I mean, I'm not like saying like I don't believe in Denzel Boston beating a corner. I've just seen too much of the passing failing in the red zone, and I also think that by the time that Jonah gets down inside the 5, he's probably accounted for half the yards to get there, and you have 2 stud running backs too. So if it's Jonah Coleman or if it's Adam Muhammad, it doesn't matter to me. Run the ball more in between the tackles when you're inside the 5.
Okay.
But either way,
Did you guys
agree to disagree?
Did you?
Well,
did you
I
Go
know,
ahead,
I know when I'm watching those are things that we did very successfully last year when we have the talent. I don't feel like we even attempt it much this year.
Sure.
And that's why when we're in the red zone and we do the passes, it's something across the middle where everybody is and the ball gets tagged or tipped or whatever. Where, man, if you see that one-on-one, unless we don't think Will Rogers can make that throw. If we don't think that he can make that throw, then I'm not going to say that.
He probably
but
can.
I know that Jeremiah Hunter and Denzel Boston's specialties are both supposed to be going up and high pointing the ball.
How about this? I'll meet you halfway. First down, second down carries, third down, or whatever.
There we go.
Third down, deep to 10.
Hey, you know what, Izzo? I think we need to take over.
There we go. Yeah, we'll be doing way better.
Hey, Jed, move over.
Hey, did anybody else pick up on when Rashid Williams caught that little like slant route?
Yeah,
Dude, he's got that next level of like burst speed.
Yeah.
I don't think when we watched him earlier on, I don't know if I thought he had that. But dude, his first step after catching that ball and getting upfield, he only got like 3 more yards. But dude, he's got like that juice, and he excited me. I was like, oh,
I'll tell you what.
Next year he's going to get a lot of playing time too.
Yeah, for sure.
During spring ball, he stood out doing that. Like the first 3 days I was at practice in the spring, I thought he was the best looking receiver on the field for those 3 days. We have any more highlight players? Are we ready to move on to the defense?
Defense, baby. Let's get it.
All right, let's do this. All right, so I got a question for you guys. Have you ever wanted to walk into Husky Stadium where there's 70,000 people and be the best looking person in the stadium? If you have, make sure you go to Simply Seattle, hit that QR code. Our good friends at Simply Seattle hooked us up and we look great. You see that QR code? Make sure you snap that, go check it out. Get all the Husky gear you want, plus Mariners, Sonics, Storm, all that stuff. Everything at Simply Seattle.
While you're at it, be sure to check out the Dub Discord community with over 2,700 members. It's the largest organized chat room for all things Washington Husky athletics. You want insider access? Our VIP membership unlocks exclusive chat rooms and rumors you won't find anywhere else. Hit the QR code on the screen and join the conversation today. Go Dogs. Thank you for everything.
UW, regardless of what the score tells you, we still went out there and did our thing defensively. There's lots of pressures. I thought we did enough to win the game. Noah, when you were watching the defensive performance against Rutgers, what stuck out to you? Let's start with the positives first.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, first off, you can't leave Piscataway and not tip your hat to Stevie B.
Piscataway.
Those guys
stuck in my head.
Dude, those guys played out of their mind. And dude, Belichick he had a game plan. I mean, if you go watch Monungai's first like 7 or 8 carries. Dude, we were running that bear front and we were shutting them down. And you look at kind of how we kind of can show different looks. And then dude, we had those guys confused early on. And so if we don't have that we have that blocked field goal, I think these guys end up giving up like 14 points all night. He's 14 points all night on a short week. Dude, that's winning you 95% of games or higher. But my highlight player is Carson Bruner, man. He is he is a warrior, man. And it was after the Apple Cup game. I called I think Izzo and I were walking out, or I called him and I said, dude, Bruner's shoulder, man, that thing was hanging. Looked like the from The Walking Dead, like one of the zombies, man. It's just that thing's just like hanging there. And I mean, it's just 9 tackles, 2 pass deflections, still blitzing the quarterback with 1 bum arm.
Yeah.
It's just I mean, he's the true definition, man, of a dog. And I don't have any like particular play, nothing like that. But I mean, when I think of, you have all these other guys doing big time things, but it's like, man, when Carson Bruner's on the field leading that defense, you got
dog mentality.
Yeah, big time.
He's your leader, man. Him and Tube.
All right. What about you, Izzo?
Yeah, I mean, we got to give it up to Javon Parker, obviously. Dude,
War Daddy.
If you're listening, Javon, man, we feel for you, dude. Keep working, get back healthy. You're a stud, dude. You and your brother are both studs, man. And graded out as the second highest defensive tackle in the country, PFF. He's got to be in there. He is looking like he was about to pop. The guy is he's so built. He's like a prototype defensive tackle. I love everything about his game. And he was a show wrecker in this game. Deshaun Lynch.
I can't wait for 2025 when Javon and Amon are next to each other.
Yeah, amen. Elenius mixed in there. Ooh,
yeah, for
Omar
sure.
Khan, come on. Anyways, we could go on with that. Deshaun Lynch, again, solid. When he comes into the game, he has an impact on the play. Like, just they have to scheme for him because he's long and he's big. So I loved what I think he rated out as like one of our, maybe the number 4 player on our defense just overall for his snaps. Durfee was right in the mix there. Was great to see him. He gets pressure on guys. It looks like an NFL defensive line when he's out there. Like, that's what my key takeaway from that is like, he looks the part. And while it didn't show up on the stat sheet necessarily in this game, he had a few tackles. The defensive line, man, just is really encouraging. And some podcast called that. On the back.
There we go.
Dude, hey, I'll tell you what, man, not to get into Michigan too much, but you're gonna need Durf and you're gonna need Voight Tanufi this week.
That's what I was going to say was my player. My 2 players of the week on defense was Voy, who had 7 tackles between being a defensive line, wherever he was on the defensive line, because he was all over the place. Yep. And then Tupatala, who had another 7 tackles and a sack.
TFL too. I think he had 1.5. Yeah.
Yeah, and so like Tupatala's, I mean, have you noticed how much he's been lining up at the edge this year?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he's rushing the quarterback a lot. I didn't realize he was going to be so versatile. And same thing with Boy. And those are the things and Lynch too, because Lynch, you see him sliding inside and out as well. Like, those guys have been real versatile. And I think they're going to not just have a big impact on this game, but on games moving forward, because those big bodies are going to matter when we're playing against the teams we're playing against coming up, especially Michigan this week.
He looks like Tupatala looks like he wants to play in the league, like straight. Yeah. I mean, it's like Stevie B brought it out of him too. Not brought it out of him because he was good last year, but I mean, like, he's really playing to his strengths, and there's a lot of NFL tape for him now.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I feel like he's been at UW for like 7 years. So
yeah.
With all the different like formations we run and the calls we run, I can only imagine what they're calling in on the headset. You know, it's like left, Ringo, Chaco, burrito, taco on 3, go. You know, it's like
it's like a quarterback play call.
What are these play called, man? It's just like, literally you'll see Tupatala, a defensive end position or the outside linebacker position. You'll have Voy on the other side. You'll keep the exact same guys. Then you'll have Voy standing up over top of the tackle. You'll have Tupatala blitz, from a linebacker position. And then you'll have Deshaun Lynch on the left end. He'll drop into coverage. It's it really is. You're running. This is what you see on Sundays. I mean, this is literally what they run.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
When they bring out the NASCAR package, how I wish we had the signs, the sign stealing or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
I want Noah for the NASCAR. It's a picture of Noah's face. And for NASCAR, baby.
Hey, I got a question for you guys. Something I noticed. So you guys saw how during the game, Cam Fab went down for a little bit, and we saw Vincent Holmes come in and play a bunch of safety. I'm still curious. I mean, I don't know if Esteen is hurt still. I know he had been a little banged up earlier in the year, but we still haven't seen Justin Harrington. And I'm wondering what's going on with Justin Harrington, because coming out of camp, he was definitely further ahead than Vincent Holmes was. But we've been seeing Holmes play. Even after he made the mistake that he made, he still was in the game. You guys have anything on that?
Jed got asked about that. Jed, at the beginning of this podcast, not like Jed listens, but whatever. Maybe he does. We were harping on him a lot or whatever, but there's a lot of positives to come away, and I don't want to take away from that. And I'm getting to the point on this. He's been really transparent about where players are at injury wise and where they're at on the depth chart and stuff like that. And he's really upfront about that. And I think that's very cool. he got asked about Harrington. He just said that they basically have him in specific spots. Like he's like kind of like a gadget. They want to bring him in when he perfectly fits where he should be going, if that makes sense. Like,
Have we seen him on the field at all?
I don't know. I don't think so. I can't remember a single play with him in, but it's a good call out. I wonder if they just prefer Vince's speed or something like that. But Vince played good on his snaps. I don't think they threw his way.
No, not at all. I know he was in on a couple tackles and they had him playing up near the line of scrimmage a little bit. I just like I said, I really like Justin Harrington coming out of the spring and when we were talking about players to be
No,
excited
I
about
agree.
and who came in and he's 6'3", 205, 210
Yeah.
pounds. Like I thought he was going to be that guy, and we just haven't seen a ton of him. Same thing with Jaden Wayne. Like I would figure this would have been a perfect game to see a bunch of Jaden Wayne. I didn't see him on the field at all, and when he grades out in the games that he has played, he seemed to grade out pretty well.
End of the day, though, don't fix what's not broke. Like we have to get pretty in deep to find something wrong with the defense. But I agree. I thought we'd see Harrington for sure.
I'll say this just to wrap us up, and I'll let Izzo, say his piece too. But I mean, our defense really did play lights out in this game? And like I said, you block that field goal, don't get that penalty. The defense only gives up 14 points all game.
Yeah.
Manungai, man, he got his. Brown got his. That on that big run. But our defense did enough to win this game. We just need to be more disciplined and convert in the red zone. And you look at our stats, you kind of look at our efficiencies, where we are. We can have our Twitter battles and you can argue with all people you want, but at the end of the day, this team should be 5-0 going into probably a top 10 Michigan versus a number 17 UW. And I mean, this should be a top 20 matchup, but new team. Yeah. So that's where we're at, man.
And everything that you just said, I totally agree with, obviously. I'm trying to think if I'll really feel this way or not. If you went and stole 2 games you weren't supposed to win, would you guys feel happy about how the season wrapped up with those 2 losses, or would you be sitting there like kicking yourself and thinking about how we should have won those 2 games and we should be 11-1 right now or something like that? If you went and like beat Oregon, beat X, name whatever school, Penn
Michigan,
State, or
Penn
something
State,
crazy.
all that, yeah.
Okay, that's the best hypothetical. If you beat Michigan at home and then beat Oregon on the road, and then win the rest of the games that you should, how would you feel about the season?
If we beat Oregon, I'll love it.
I completely agree. I would be like, oh, what ifs, just like we did in 2022 with KDB.
Yeah,
but
that's the first thing I was thinking too, Mike, was the UCLA Arizona State games.
Exactly. We win one of those games and we're in a New Year's Day Six Bowl. Yeah. I think that if we finish with like 8 or 9 wins and we steal 2 that we're supposed to, I think we feel good. I think the only time that would be a question is if, say, we end 10-2, right? And we're just outside the playoff. That's when we're going to be asking those questions. But I think just like we did under KDB, we're going to feel really good about going into next year, because whenever we beat Oregon, that's my brother was like, hey, I don't care if they won 1 game all year. As long as that game is against Oregon, I feel great.
So we don't have to recap the schedule or anything like that, but Iowa, Indiana, those are not gimme wins. Like, I think we can beat Iowa. Indiana looks really good. They just put up 42 on Maryland last week too. They can't be held under like 40 points. It's insane. They're dialed. So that's going to be a really tough game. Penn State, Oregon, USC. If you won 8 or 9 games with how the season has gone so far, dude, I'm talking about us winning like 7, and 2 of those wins are Michigan and Oregon. Would you guys be okay with that year?
Yep. I would be.
I would be too. I would be too.
I mean, the other thing too is like you start breaking this down though, and you let's say you beat Michigan this week, you go 4-2, and then you go Iowa, Indiana. The realistic thing, both of those games are on the road. Ideally, you want to split those games. Like, you want to get one of those games.
Exactly.
To go 5-3, and then it's like you got to get USC, Penn State, UCLA, and Oregon. I mean, you know what I mean? Like that I'm not saying that we can't beat those teams. I'm just saying like when you break the season down, that's really kind of when it
The
starts.
run you have to make.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay. It could be rough, but I know this is what I want to say to Husky Nation because it's very, very true. We feel really down right now because of how we've lost the 2 games. But when you look at what we're doing and how we are not overmatched anywhere we've played so far, where we've actually looked like the better team, the fixable things can be fixed. This is Jed Fish's first year. We got to give him the benefit of the doubt until we have reason not to. Now, I'll tell you what, if we end up losing the next 3 games, you guys can start calling for his head.
And honestly, like, this is the prime example of like a young team mistakes. And so while I don't think any of us viewed it as possible to this extreme, you can't ignore that. Just like you can't ignore red zone play calling,
Yep.
or whatever it is, right? So it's a factor that has to be considered, that half of this team is brand new and we play a lot of young guys. I want to give a quick minor apology. Well, not minor, but I guess just an apology here. UW commentator, I came at you too hard about the, Sunday, whatever. Still reeling from the loss about just the fan base kind of. It was a culmination essentially of like feeling like the fan base was kind of withering and being like, let's look at other games now when we lost 2 games that would keep us from 5-0 by 5 points and 2 games that we should have won. But to echo Mike's point, like, be steadfast with the squad. We should be steadfast with the team and critical of when we see coaching stuff, just like we are. But that doesn't mean throw your hands up and be like down with the dogs for a while or something like that. Or finding a new team to root for. Like, we're not there yet. That's just my opinion.
That's some stuff Oregon fans do. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's just like you can't tell fans how to fan.
Yeah, that's
but
right.
Like if you're UW guy, it's more of just like, let's stick this shit out, man. Like it's 2 losses. It's 2 losses. We're good. Fine. We're heading the right direction. We look good, dude.
Hey, but you know what? I like the back and forth. I think because I was in that thread and I was talking about how the UW fan base, I'm old, but with the UW fan base, like in the 90s and early 2000s, before the dark age, was rabid. Sellouts, cheering so much the camera was shaking. To get back to that, we needed to stir the pot a little bit. And I think Izzo, say what you got to say, sometimes stirs the pot and it gets people like, gets people talking.
My bad.
I think we need to do that because we're playing against rabid fan bases, and to maintain that home field advantage, we got to be the same. So,
and we're just fans at the end of the day. I'm probably taking too serious.
I got a tattoo on my arm. You think I'm going to take it too serious? All right, you guys.
I got a tattoo on my heart. That's it. I just love the dogs.
All right, you guys. Do we have anything else we want to go, or are we going to call this a pod?
Let's call it, baby.
All right, you guys. Make sure to tune in tomorrow because we're dropping the preview for Michigan the day after this one. Also, make sure you go hit that QR code down below. Go to the Discord. Make sure you're signed up. It's free to join, but for a small fee, you can be part of the VIP and get all the best information coming out long before you get it anywhere else. And also, like I said, we're 2,700 strong. Great conversation in there. So for Izzo, for Noah, I'm Mike Flaunt, and this is the Dubbed Up Podcast. Go Dogs.
Go Dogs, baby.
Go Dogs.
Har. Har, har. Whoa, whoa. Woof. I'm keeping that in as the sign up right there.